CarMax just lit the fuse on a $5.6 billion crisis, unleashing an avalanche of unsold cars, with insider-only deals like a $15,999 Camry shaking the industry. That's not a typo. America's biggest used car giant is slashing prices to levels working people never see, all because Wall Street just vaporized nearly half their value overnight. As big companies scramble to protect themselves, ordinary buyers and mom-and-pop dealers are left wondering who benefits from a market this broken. But what triggered the meltdown? And how far will these deals, and this chaos, really go? A 2023 Camry with just 7,000 miles, listed at $15,999. That's not a salvage title, not a rental return, not a catch buried in the fine print. It's sitting on a CarMax liquidation lot, priced lower than what most small-town dealers can buy at auction. For working people, that's the kind of deal that usually belongs to insiders, fleet buyers, wholesalers, or someone with a friend in the business. Now, it's out in the open, and the rules have changed overnight. Here's what the headlines miss. That $5.6 billion number everyone's throwing around? It isn't a pile of unsold cars rusting in the sun. It's CarMax's reported net revenue for the last quarter. Money that should have flowed through the system, paying off lenders, funding payroll, fueling the machine. But when those cars don't move, when they start stacking up in overflow lots and employee parking, that revenue turns into risk. Every day a car sits, the clock ticks on carrying costs, depreciation, and floor plan interest. The losses aren't just on paper, they're real dollars bleeding out of the system. This isn't some viral rumor or a spreadsheet glitch. It's happening on the ground, in lots across the country. Inventory sits for 60, 70 days or more. Some lots are so full, managers are parking cars in the grass, behind service bays, anywhere there's space. Each car that goes unsold drags down the value of the next one. And when CarMax starts slashing prices to clear the backlog, it's not just a bargain for the lucky buyer. It's a warning siren for every dealer still holding inventory at last month's prices. The liquidation myth? It's not about a fire sale dumping every car at once. It's about the slow, grinding pressure of too much supply and not enough demand, forcing prices down, deal by deal. For the big players, it means billions at risk. For the rest of us, it's a rare shot at a deal, but only if you can move fast, before the next wave of markdowns or the next round of layoffs hits Main Street. This is what a real crisis looks like when it lands in your backyard. In a single brutal day, CarMax lost nearly half its value. The stock chart looks like a cliff, down 47%, wiping out as much as $4.7 billion in shareholder wealth before lunch. That's not a slow leak. That's a financial blowtorch, scorching retirement accounts, pension funds, and every investor who believed the old rules still applied. Analysts scrambled to make sense of it. Some called it an overreaction. Others called it overdue. But the numbers didn't care. $3.2 billion gone in hours, more than the entire annual budget of some states. For Wall Street, this is the kind of red ink that sends shockwaves through the whole sector. CarMax was supposed to be the safe bet, the blue chip of used cars. Their data models, their logistics, their national reach were supposed to keep them insulated from storms like this. But when the sell orders hit, nothing could stop the slide. Mutual funds trimmed their positions. Index trackers dumped shares. Even long-term holders hit the exits, spooked by the speed of the collapse. The market didn't just punish CarMax. It punished the idea that any retailer is too big to fail in a world where technology and consumer habits can flip overnight. This isn't a correction. It's a reckoning. Every analyst note reads like a post-mortem. Missed forecasts, inventory glut, digital disruption. When a company this size gets blindsided, it's not just a CarMax problem. It's a warning to every other player clinging to the old ways. The scale of loss is staggering. Billions erased in a single session, Years of growth vaporized, and confidence shattered across the industry. For the giants, it's a wake-up call. For the rest of us, it's proof that even the biggest can get caught flat-footed. And when they do, the fallout lands on everyone. Bill Nash stood in front of the cameras, shoulders squared, but his voice gave away what the numbers already screamed. He didn't try to spin it. He didn't promise a turnaround. Instead, he said the words no CEO wants to say. We simply cannot predict with any confidence what the next 12 to 18 months will bring. That's not a press release. That's a captain admitting he's lost the map in the middle of the storm. The usual playbook was gone. No forecasts, no guidance, no reassuring charts. Just a blunt confession that the machine had broken down. On the ground, the evidence piled up. Cars wedged into every inch of overflow. Employee lots packed so tight, staff had to park blocks away. Some vehicles sat so long their batteries died. Every unsold car was another weight on the company's chest, dragging down value, burning cash, turning what should have been assets into anchors. Inside the company, the panic was real. Nash's statement didn't just rattle investors, it sent shockwaves through every level of CarMax. Data teams who once bragged about predictive models now faced the reality that their algorithms couldn't see past the fog. Middle managers, used to steady demand, found themselves fielding calls from desperate dealers, asking for buybacks or bulk deals just to clear space. Even longtime employees whispered about layoffs, worried their jobs would be the next casualty of the slowdown. This is what crisis looks like from the inside. The guy at the top, forced to tell Wall Street he can't see the road ahead. The lots overflowing, the spreadsheets turning red. The sense that the old rules don't work anymore. For CarMax, it's not just about losing money, it's about losing control. And when leadership admits they're flying blind, everyone, from the boardroom to the back lot, feels the chill. Amazon's playbook isn't complicated. It's a checklist built for speed. Browse, click, drive away. The Amazon and Hertz partnership puts thousands of former rental cars online, each one run through a 115-point inspection before it even hits the listing. Every scratch, every tire tread, every system gets checked by Hertz techs. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't show up. That's the baseline. The price you see is the price you pay. No haggling, no backroom manager talks, no hours spent waiting for someone to run the numbers. Amazon's platform locks in the number, usually somewhere between $16,000 and $27,000 for a late-model sedan or SUV, and that's it. The days of sweating out a deal in a muggy office are over. Financing? It's all built in. Click the Apply for Financing button and you're routed through Amazon's own digital rails. Approvals, terms, and payments are handled before you ever set foot on the lot. There's no pressure to buy extras, no last-minute add-ons. The paperwork is digital, the process is streamlined, and the contract is ready to sign before you leave your couch. Every car comes with a 12-month, 12,000-mile powertrain warranty, standard, not an upcharge. And if you change your mind, you get a full week, 7 days, up to 250 miles, to bring the car back, no questions asked. The only catch? You have to return it to the Hertz car sales location where you picked it up. No home pickup yet, but for most buyers in Dallas, Houston, LA, or Seattle, that's a fair trade for skipping the old-school sales pitch. Everything about the process is designed to feel familiar. The Amazon interface looks just like buying headphones or a toaster. Search filters, ratings, side-by-side comparisons. Every tool is there. The only difference is the product costs more than your last vacation. Pickup is the last step. There's no home delivery in the pilot phase, but the handoff at Hertz is quick. Walk in, show your ID, sign a few final forms, and the keys are yours. No balloons, no confetti, no sales rep trailing you to the parking lot. Just a handshake and a full tank of gas. The result? It feels less like buying a car and more like checking out on Prime Day. For the average buyer, especially anyone burned by old-school lots, the the convenience is hard to ignore. The message is clear. The era of the hard sell is ending. Now, the platform does the work, and the customer calls the shots. Amazon isn't just selling cars, it's selling control. With every click, every financing application, every digital signature, Amazon captures the customer relationship from start to finish. That's the real weapon. Dealers used to own those touch points, the handshake, the service calls, the follow-up mailers. Now, the data flows straight to Seattle. Every search, every filter, every abandoned checkout becomes another data point in Amazon's arsenal. Fuel for the next price drop, the next targeted ad, the next move to squeeze out the middleman. The contract terms are no secret to industry insiders. Dealers who sign on with Amazon agree to a margin haircut, sometimes 2%, sometimes more, just for the privilege of showing up in the search results. The trade-off? Visibility on the world's biggest storefront, but at the cost of losing direct access to their own customers. Analysts warn that once Amazon owns the checkout lane, it owns the future. The dealer's brand fades into the background. The buyer remembers the Amazon experience, not the name on the license plate frame. This isn't about who has the shiniest lot or the lowest price. It's about who controls the pipeline of buyers and the flow of information. Amazon's marketplace moat runs on algorithms that can reprice inventory in real time, undercutting rivals with a few keystrokes. Dealers who resist face a choice: accept lower margins and less control, or risk being invisible to the next generation of buyers who never set foot on Main Street. For small-town dealers, the threat is existential. They can't match Amazon's reach, can't buy their way to the top of the search page, and can't afford to give up the customer data that keeps the lights on. Even CarMax, with its billion-dollar tech stack, finds itself boxed in. The old advantages, local reputation, handshake deals, a friendly face, don't mean much when the platform decides who gets seen and who gets squeezed. Every time Amazon moves into a new market, the terms get tougher for everyone else. Dealers grumble about the data grab, but most sign anyway. The alternative is being left behind, watching as more buyers bypass the lot and go straight to checkout online. For working people, that means fewer choices, less leverage, and higher prices set by a company that's playing chess while everyone else is still setting up the board. Inside CarMax, the warning signs were everywhere, just not on the earnings slides. In the third quarter of 2024, a team of data scientists flagged a pattern that should have stopped the presses. The algorithm was overbidding for inventory, stacking the lots with cars that couldn't possibly move at a profit. Their model showed acquisition costs outpacing what the market would bear, especially as interest rates climbed and consumer demand softened. But those alerts didn't get a hearing. Senior management, still betting on a quick rebound, told analysts they were confident in their pricing strategy. The internal memos told a different story. One, circulated among the analytics team in September, warned that average holding times were creeping past 70 days, with depreciation eating into margins faster than any markdown could fix. The same memo urged an immediate review of acquisition formulas and a freeze on new inventory purchases until the backlog cleared. The response? Silence from the top floor. It wasn't just one rogue email. Slack channels filled with charts and code snippets, all pointing to the same conclusion. CarMax was buying too high and selling too slow. Some on the data team started calling themselves Cassandras, doomed to see disaster coming, powerless to change the outcome. In private, they joked about the company's faith in its own models, even as those models flashed red. One analyst described it as watching a train speed toward a washed-out bridge and the engineer won't pick up the radio. Meanwhile, the finance department was quietly increasing loan loss reserves by 25% year over year. On paper, that was just prudence. In reality, it was a sign that defaults were climbing, and the company was bracing for a wave of repossessions. But the official line stayed upbeat. Executives doubled down on digital transformation, touting investments in reconditioning centers and online sales, hoping to outpace the storm with scale and tech. All the while, the core problem, too many overpriced cars, too few real buyers, went unresolved. This is how the old guard loses its grip, not with a single blunder, but with 1,000 ignored warnings. While CarMax's leadership clung to the playbook, Amazon was rewriting the rules from the outside. The cost of that blind spot? Billions in lost value, shattered trust, and a market suddenly wide open for anyone who can see what's coming. For working families, it means the next round of pain isn't just higher prices or fewer choices. It's the fallout of a company that stopped listening to its own experts until it was too late. A $26,000 sedan. Nothing fancy, just a reliable ride for getting to work, picking up groceries, hauling the kids. For a working-class buyer, that's the dream. A late-model car with low miles, a payment you can handle, something that'll last. But the math doesn't care about dreams. At CarMax, the interest rate for anyone with less than perfect credit now sits at 22.95%. That's not a typo. Nearly 23% on a used car. Plug that into the calculator and the monthly bill comes out to $668. That payment eats up more than a quarter of the average take-home pay for a warehouse worker or a nurse's aide. For a family living paycheck to paycheck, it's not just a number. It's the difference between breathing room and drowning. The bank wants its cut, the insurance company wants theirs, and gas is still flirting with $4 a gallon. Add it all up, and the car that was supposed to make life easier turns into an anchor. The numbers don't stop there. That $668 doesn't buy you a new car smell or a warranty that covers the big stuff. It's for a used sedan that's already lost a third of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. Stretch the loan out over 6 years, and by the time the last payment clears, you've shelled out almost $48,000 for a car that started at $26,000. That's not a luxury upgrade. That's just what it costs to keep the wheels turning in 2025. For a buyer trying to get ahead, there's no room for error. Miss a payment, and the repo man is closer than you think. Even a short gap between jobs or a medical bill can tip the balance. The system isn't built for the average person to win. It's designed to extract every dollar, every month, until there's nothing left to give. That's the reality behind the headline deals and the liquidation lots, the fine print that turns a bargain into a burden. Defaults are piling up faster than lenders can process the paperwork. In 2024, more than 2.3 million auto loans fell into serious delinquency, payments late by 90 days or more. For working families, that means the repo truck is circling the block, waiting for a missed payment to turn into a midnight tow. The numbers don't stop there. Nationwide, 1.73 million vehicles were repossessed last year, the highest count since the Great Recession. That's not just a statistic. It's a wave of cars flooding back into the system, each one a story of someone who lost their ride to work, their way to pick up the kids, their shot at stability. CarMax is bracing for impact. The company hiked its loan loss reserves by 25% year over year, a move that only happens when defaults are no longer a blip, but a trend. Their filings spell it out in black and white. More cars are coming back, and they're preparing for even more. Every repo that lands on a CarMax lot has to be cleaned, inspected, and reconditioned, costs that eat into any hope of profit. But the real pain starts when those cars hit the auction block. The pipeline runs like this. Subprime lenders call in the loans, the repo lots fill up, and then the overflow heads to wholesale auctions. CarMax, desperate to move metal, buys up whatever it can at a discount, hoping to flip just enough to keep the lights on. But there's a catch. The more repos that hit the market, the lower the prices drop. It's a race to the bottom, and nobody wants to be left holding inventory that's worth less tomorrow than it is today. Small dealers are getting crushed. They can't compete with CarMax's scale or Amazon's reach, and when the auction lanes fill with distressed inventory, their margins vanish overnight. For the guy running a family lot in a small town, it's not just a tough year, it's an existential threat. Every repo that gets dumped at auction pushes prices down another notch, making it harder for honest dealers to survive. The repo tsunami isn't just washing away profits, it's erasing the old way of doing business, one car at a time. This is what happens when the system breaks. Delinquencies spike, repossessions soar, and the overflow turns into a flood that nobody can stop. For the big players, it's a brutal reset. For everyone else, it's a warning. In a market this unforgiving, there's no safety net, just the cold math of supply, demand, and survival. 40 years of handshakes, oil changes, and family photos pinned behind the counter, wiped out in a matter of months. That's the reality for thousands of small-town dealers staring at empty showrooms and overflowing lots. In places where the car business is more than just numbers on a spreadsheet, the losses cut deeper than a missed quarter. Some dealers are down 40% or more in monthly revenue. The phones ring less. The service bays echo. Mechanics who've worked the same lifts for decades are sent home early, told to check back next week. For the first time in a generation, the family name on the sign doesn't guarantee a sale. It's not just about the money. It's about watching loyal customers, kids who bought their first car from your father, scroll past your inventory and buy online instead. The new reality is a browser tab, a click, and a car delivered from a faceless platform. The Amazon Hertz partnership didn't just steal market share, it stole tradition. Dealers who once knew every customer by name now see their hometowns plastered with digital ads for cars they can't compete with on price or convenience. The sense of community that held these businesses together is being replaced by algorithms and next-day pickup slots. The numbers don't soften the blow. Nearly 1.73 million vehicles repossessed last year. A record 2.3 million auto loans in serious delinquency. Inventory that used to turn in weeks now sits for months, losing value every day. Wholesale auctions are flooded with cars, each one a story of a family that couldn't keep up with payments. Small dealers, already squeezed by rising floor plan interest, are forced to dump inventory at a loss just to keep cash flowing. The margins are gone, the hope is fading. For some, the hardest part isn't the financial hit. It's telling employees there's no work. It's explaining to the local parts supplier why the monthly order has been cut in half. It's facing the reality that the business built by your parents might not make it to the next generation. The old rules don't apply anymore. In this new game, size, scale, and digital reach matter more than reputation or roots. The giants have the data, the capital, and the platform. The rest are left to fight for scraps in a market that no longer rewards loyalty or service. The pain isn't confined to one town or one family. It's a wave rolling across the country, from the Midwest to the coasts. Each closure is another empty storefront, another job lost, another reminder that when big companies rewrite the rules, it's the little guys who pay the price. For working people and small business owners, the crash isn't just numbers on a ticker, it's the end of an era and the start of a fight for survival. Dealer associations aren't just watching from the sidelines, they're spending millions to hold the line. The National Automobile Dealers Association poured over $3 million into federal lobbying last year alone, with state-level campaigns adding tens of millions more. In Texas, the dealers wrote seven-figure checks to block direct sales bills. California's association spent nearly $1.2 million just to keep franchise protections on the books. The numbers are staggering, but the goal is simple: keep the old laws in place, no matter what it costs. On the other side, Amazon and the new electric startups are writing their own checks, pushing for a future where the middleman disappears and the car arrives with a single click. Tesla cracked the door open with direct sales and agency models, but every time a state tries to change the rules, the courtroom fills with lobbyists. Some states now allow automakers to sell straight to the customer. Others hold the line, defending a system built for a different era. It's trench warfare, dollars against decades of tradition. CarMax is caught in the crossfire and trying to buy time. The company's latest filings show a $500 to $550 million investment in reconditioning centers, giant warehouses built to process, inspect, and prep cars for digital sales. This isn't a facelift, it's a full-body transplant. The goal is speed, turn inventory faster, cut holding costs, and keep up with the instant delivery promises of Amazon and Carvana. Every dollar spent is a bet that the old formula, big lots, big selection, friendly faces, can survive in a world where most buyers never set foot on the pavement. But the clock is ticking. Dealers are fighting for their lives, pouring cash into legal battles while their customer base shrinks with every new app update. CarMax is racing to automate, streamline, and digitize, hoping the next wave of buyers still cares about test drives and warranties. Amazon's playbook is simple. Make it easier, make it faster, make the dealer invisible. The only thing standing in the way is the law and the money behind it. There's no reset button. If the lobbyists win, Main Street keeps its car lots, but at a price, higher costs, less innovation, and a system that favors the few over the many. If the tech giants win, the local dealer could be gone in a decade, replaced by warehouses, delivery vans, and algorithms that decide who gets the best deal. For the working class, it's a rigged game either way. The fight isn't about who sells you the car, it's about who controls the future and who gets left behind when the dust settles. CarMax's $5.6 billion quarterly revenue, once a sign of dominance, now marks the scale of its crisis. SEC filings confirm a 47% stock plunge and up to $4.7 billion in market value erased almost overnight. Amazon's partnership with Hertz, launched in 4 pilot cities, lets buyers skip the lot with a single click, while small dealers like Horvath Motors report sales drops as steep as 40%. Meanwhile, the average used car loan hits $668 a month at nearly 23% APR, fueling a record surge in delinquencies and repossessions. Yet, no document can answer how fast traditional dealerships will disappear or who will control the next era of car buying. What's clear, the power is shifting from Main Street to corporate giants armed with data and scale. The evidence shows the old system is cracking, and the future of car ownership may soon belong to those who control the platform, not the pavement.